Hello, Manna family. We live in uncertain times. Uncertainty always conveys the idea of unpredictability and ambiguity. Certainty speaks to that which is predictable and specific and knowable. This pandemic is so uncertain because so much about it is unknown. After all, the last truly global pandemic occurred in 1918. This coronavirus is full of uncertainties and it raises lots of questions. Will I be infected? Will my loved ones be infected? How will this pandemic change my future? How will this pandemic change the world as we know it? When will it end? And maybe most importantly, will we be ever able to go back to living like we did before the pandemic, or are we now entering a new normal? Is anything certain in an uncertain world? A good example of living with certainty in uncertain times is Daniel. In 605 BC, King Nebuchadnezzar invaded the kingdom of Judah for the first time and deported members of the Jewish nobility to Babylon. Daniel, who was a teenager at the time, was among those captured and was taken 500 miles away to the city of Babylon. Talk about your whole world being turned upside down. King Nebuchadnezzar was always on the lookout for talent to help him administer his empire, so Daniel and other Jewish youths were enrolled in a 3-year Babylonian leadership development program. They lived in what we would call dormitories, and they ate the food that the king provided. However, the king's food was considered to be unclean according to the law of Moses, and it would be considered a sin for any Jew to eat it. Most people would say, well, when you're in Rome, do what the Romans do. But Daniel 1:8 says, but Daniel made up his mind that he would not defile himself with the king's choice food or with the wine that he drank. So he sought permission from the commander of the officials that he might not defile himself. Verse 9, now God granted Daniel favor and compassion in the sight of the officials. I want you to notice that Daniel made up his mind to honor God, even when he was a slave in a foreign land. Everything in Daniel's circumstances had changed, but Daniel's convictions didn't change. Daniel trusted the certainty of God's presence and God's promises, and God honored Daniel's faith. When Daniel asked permission of the authorities to not eat the king's food, it was granted. You know, no matter how much uncertainty the coronavirus has brought into our lives, and it has brought a lot and it's going to bring a lot more, we can trust in the eternally certain character of God. We serve a God who controls the destinies of planets, of people, of governments, of empires, and even tiny viruses. In these uncertain times, we should make up our mind, like Daniel did, to trust and obey the God who never changes. Then watch what an eternally unchanging God will do in your changing world. Remember, God designed us to do life together.